This is Alan Weinkrantz for SanAntonioStartups.com. I'm here with Jason Smith, who is the president of Torchlight Technologies here in San Antonio. And we're going to talk a little bit about Torchlight, I understand, and also about the open source movement here in San Antonio.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us today. Jason, tell us a little bit about your company, about Torchlight.
Well, Torchlight is an IT consulting firm, and we focus primarily as being business consultants for our customers, not just being technology consultants, really focusing on where our customer wants to go, what their business model is, how they make their money, and then finding ways to use technology to plug in those holes. And all of our solutions are customizable because of the fact that we use primarily open source solutions. Your Novell Linuxes, your Red Hat Linuxes, your MySQL databases, PHP, Python, Nagios. We even have an open source firewall in the works that we're working on. So pretty much every solution we utilize is open source, and because of that, it's cheaper, it's more customizable, more scalable, and it just works out better for the customer in most situations.
When I met you, you told me that you had actually started elements of your business in high school.
That's correct. I was 17, attending Douglas MacArthur High School, and one of my teachers, my economics AP teacher, knew that I liked computers, knew that I was getting into the Linux, and I was a real big fan of open source and whatnot. He pretty much posed the question to me, why don't you start doing something about it now? Why wait until the next 10 years? You obviously know what you want to do, and go ahead and do it. And after he pointed me in the right directions and whatnot, I wound up starting Torchlight while I was still attending high school in my senior year.
That's very cool. So Jason, you finished high school and now you're in college running your business as well.
Yes, it's been fun juggling both of those. My last semester is actually starting later this week, and I'll be done in December of '09, this December. It's been pretty fun juggling the two, but I don't have any regrets, and it's been great.
Where do you go to school?
University of Texas at San Antonio.
And your major, I'm going to guess, is?
Well, it's actually entrepreneurship, small business management management with a focus on small business and entrepreneurship.
Cool, very good. Okay, so Jason, you're pretty active in the open source movement, and especially the open source movement here in San Antonio. Can you elaborate a little bit?
Well, one thing we want to do is we fully believe that open source, the model, is a very good model, not just in terms of technology, but in terms of business, in terms of philosophy. A lot of people think open source is about free in terms of it doesn't cost any money, I can go and download it. And that's partially true, but the big portion of open source is collaboration, is people getting together, sharing knowledge, and building better technology, better communities. So we wanted to bring a lot of the people that we know who use open source technology, but also contribute to it, and kind of create a whole grouping of these people, and we can push the technology in San Antonio. Like right now, internally, Torchlight only does open source solutions. Every now and again, we'll deal with a Microsoft, but we will actually, we blog. Right now, we work together with osnews.com. We also work closely with Rackspace, who's also a big supporter of the open source movement. In fact, pretty much all their servers when they started were Red Hat Linux servers, and then they added Microsoft later. We also work with some people in Austin because, quite frankly, it's easier to find open source people in Austin and try to get them involved in the movement here in San Antonio. We team up, and we're right now working on trying to create a group that meets regularly of open source experts, whether it be in PHP, it be in Linux, it be in MySQL. We try to work together with the San Antonio, Texas Linux users group as well. We haven't been as active in that, however, we're starting to get back into that. And hopefully we can collaborate with all the different open source people and then create a movement here in San Antonio, just a grouping of experts who can basically just say, hey, everybody's using Microsoft, but did you know you can use Linux as a file server instead? Or, oh, you're developing .NET, well, have you tried a LAMP stack instead? Something to that effect is really the reason why I don't think it's taken off as much as it could have, is not just because of the lack of awareness, but also because of the lack of people support it. Because let's face it, a business isn't going to want to rest their entire infrastructure on one human being. They want to know, if that person gets into a car accident or is in a coma for a year, there's somebody else who can come in and do the work. So if we can make it known that we have a ton of different open source experts who can fill in the holes, that would be great. In fact, we're working on a site, os411.net, which will be a directory listing of open source experts in the area.
Okay, very good. And how do people find Torchlight, and how do they find your open source movement on the internet?
Well, the big thing we do is we always contribute, whether it be through ideas, mainly through ideas, on different open source things. Like, we are Novell's only Linux partner in San Antonio. We work together with the Open Document Format Alliance. You can actually find us listed there. We contribute to the variety of forums, which are very important to the open source movement as the basic idea of the sharing of knowledge. We contribute to all those forums. We are currently working together with osnews.com, as I mentioned before, and we're also going to be working together with Linux Journal in the near future. We're in talks with them about that. So pretty much just trying to contribute our knowledge, different tips and tricks and whatnot of open source, that not just the computer geek can understand, but the run-of-the-mill person can understand and really begin to appreciate what open source has to offer. And we also have a blog at torchlightbeacon.com, which we showcase a lot of different open source technologies, open source in the news. We also support Google and their efforts, because I think they're probably one of the prime examples of open source and collaboration and crowdsourcing, as they always seem to focus heavily on sharing information.
Okay, well, thanks for your time today.
All right, thank you.